Hey guys, we just wanted to pop in real quick and let you know that on this episode we get into some heavier topics about moments where we've all felt a little bit more threatened or scared for our lives or our bodies. And we just wanted to give a quick trigger warning that there are some topics of assault and just scarier moments in this episode. So if that might trigger you in any way, skip this episode and we will see you next season.
Hi everyone, welcome to the Daddy Issues podcast. I'm Kay and I'm here with S and G.
Hey guys. Our goal each week is to unpack various aspects of our lives. We are three sisters with three very different perspectives on life. And we hope that through our conversations, our DIY therapy sessions, and unpacking our various nuanced lives, that our listeners will be able to learn a thing or two from what we're going through.
Yes, and just a reminder, we are completely amateur humans and far from perfect, so please take what we say lightly. We are definitely not claiming to be professionals in any way, just trying to create a fun and safe environment for us to grow. I just stuttered all over that, but it's fine. Here we are.
You're nailing it.
Yeah.
Okay, so before we get into today's topic, I have a little story for you guys, and it actually does, I feel like a lot of times it ends up relating to what we're going to talk about today, and it does again today. But okay, so one day after work, I got off a little bit early. So I was like, okay, I've been putting off cleaning out my car, vacuuming out my car, all of that. So I'm going to run to the gas station and get that done. And I wear scrubs for work now, but at the time I wore more business casual. And I remember leaving work and thinking, okay, I want to go to the gas station. I already had the thought in my head. I was wearing a summery sundress and small little mule heels, a little bit more dressed up than you'd want to be going to the gas station. Mm-hmm. And being a woman, I already had it in the back of my head. I'm like, oh, this is a scandalous outfit. No, it was literally a dress that went down to my ankles. But yes. I was like, I don't know. It's
draw more attention.
It's an unusual outfit to wear going to the car wash, but I was like, I don't want to go home.
But literally, the gas station is something that you do on your
car
way
wash.
Car wash.
Yeah.
Either of them are something you do on your way to go live life. So It's actually crazy that there's a.
But that thought was already going through my head. So I get there. It's pretty empty because, like I said, I got off early. It was probably 2:00 on an afternoon, and I'm vacuuming out my car. Well, no, first I get there and it's pretty empty, like I said. But I do see the two people there who are cleaning out their cars are both men. So I'm already clocking that as well. So then I'm like, okay, whatever. It's literally broad daylight on a busy road. You're being paranoid. So I just go about cleaning out my car. I'm vacuuming it out. I vacuum out the driver's side front seat. And then now I'm in the driver's side back seat and vacuuming, but also I'm completely bent over leaning to get the passenger side too. I'm like, let's just get it all in one swoop. I'm there for a while. And what concerns me is I didn't feel like anything was off. I was just in my own little world. I had my music playing. I was vacuuming. And then I come to get out of the car to go to the other side, and I turn around and there's a man so close to me. So I had my door open, obviously, so I could be reaching in and vacuuming just to try to give a picture of how close he was. He was within the length of the door, Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I turn around and I'm I audibly gasp, I'm visibly scared. And he just starts chuckling and laughing. Oh. And I was like, can I help you? And he was like, I think he offered to help clean my car. And I was like, no, I'm good. I got it. And then I look over to the other man that's there. This happened when I had the fear response. Not only was the man that was literally way too close for comfort laughing, but that guy was laughing too. And I was just what the heck? What really frustrated me is the fact that I had that instinct going into it, and
Still let your guard down.
yeah, and was like telling myself that I was being over dramatic and overthinking a situation, and then I walk into that situation and the exact thing that I feared was gonna happen happened, and then just what solidified it further was just like the other man that was there just kind of feeding into it. I've been in other situations before. I remember one time in college, I was like going to an ATM and in a Chase, and there was like a creepy guy standing outside, and this other man was like, "I'll stand here."
Yeah.
And I was like,
as like a protector.
I was like, "Thank you," but I was just like really put off that the other guy like kind of laughed too, and I was just like,
why are you guys getting joy from me being visibly scared right now?
yeah, that's what it felt like. And my instincts were right. So,
Yes.
and I sometimes shut down my instincts as anxiety or overreaction. But I mean, that, like I said, this leads into what we're going to be talking about today. Kind of just talking about what it's like to be a woman in society and having to constantly be aware of your surroundings and
The
like
fact
for
that
your
we're being
safety.
watched like all the time.
Yeah, and just how exhausting and difficult that can be. We're all going to kind of talk about how we've experienced that from our own perspectives. I mean, I know we all probably have stories similar to the one I just shared where
Yeah.
a man just
Crosses these boundaries that I feel like for the most part, women just quite literally would never. If anything, most women are so concerned for their own safety,
Yeah.
they can't even be bothered to.
yeah, and like they cross these boundaries that seem super obvious that they would make a woman feel uncomfortable, and sometimes it's difficult to discern whether or not they are just unaware of those boundaries because they don't have to think about them versus they're intentionally crossing them, like I feel like that man was doing at the gas
Yeah.
station.
She wanted you to be afraid.
It's just like a constant mental gymnastics we're having to do.
Yeah, and it's hard because sometimes you express that like paranoia almost to people, and it sounds crazy, and so it gets dismissed a lot.
Yeah.
Like just you saying like, oh, even before I even pulled up, I was worried because of the dress I was wearing. And some people might be like, that's just such a silly thought to have, but it's
Yeah.
like that's a very real thing. Like I had a very similar experience with putting air in my tires, and the
Yeah.
man was just like right behind me when I stood up.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Do you have any like big situations that stand out for you where you were like, where you remember being like, wow, I feel very scared or unsafe in this situation?
for sure, the first one I can think of, G was actually with me. We were in New York together, and we were on a train. We were going to go see like a show, so we had drinks before because it's expensive. And so we were both a little tipsy. We were on the train, and Gloria was talking. And
I was having a time.
yeah, she was having the time of her life.
As you should be while you're in New York.
Exactly, and we were waiting for the train to come. And I just remember the train like slid into view, like cinematic. And I saw in the window, in the seat across the aisle, was just a man in a ski mask. Now, we were in New York in the middle of July.
Oh, okay. And those subways lack air conditioning.
They do, and it was
a lot of times
humid. It was hot. No, I could not think of
I'm
any.
oblivious the entire time.
Yes.
Let's just note.
She didn't
Is it
clock
daytime or nighttime, just out of curiosity?
It was like evening, blending into night, like sun was setting. And I clocked it immediately, and I was just thinking in my head, I was like, why is this man hiding his face like that in the middle of the summer? It was just strange to me. But we entered the train anyway, which in hindsight I regret, but we were running late to the show.
Yeah.
And I got on.
and everyone else is probably getting on, like, no big deal, so.
No one else was
Literally,
phased.
again, completely unaware.
Yeah.
Like,
And I got on the train and I looked around and I didn't see him at first. So I was like, okay, maybe he like got off on that stop. Like, we're lucky. And we sat down. Gloria was talking. I'm so sorry. I love you. I don't remember a word that you said.
I'm
to
yip
me.
yapping. I'm just going
we're
on
just
and on.
yapping, having the time of your life. And I looked to my side and I saw that he had moved from across the aisle to the same side as we were, but the opposite side of the train. So there were people in between us. So it wasn't like he was moving closer to us. But I had finally seen like the full view of this man, and he was head to toe in black, and I didn't see anything except for his eyes, which were like the most piercing blue eyes I've ever seen.
That's so eerie.
It was so eerie.
I'm so sorry you went through this alone.
I was like, you were literally there, but she was going through it alone.
Part of me thinks I'm like crazy and he wasn't actually there. But I was the only one, I feel, that like noticed him because everyone else was acting normal. I was like, maybe this is a common New York thing. I don't know. I've been here many times and I've never experienced anything like this. And then we made eye contact, and we just locked eyes for an uncomfortable amount of time. And I broke the eye contact because I was like, I think if I stare at him any longer, he's going to kill me. Like, I was like, this is so strange. And then I looked back because curiosity, and again, still staring at us over there.
No, that's even scarier. Breaking eye contact and then regaining eye contact for them to still be staring at you is scarier than just like maintaining eye contact.
Yes. And so I was like very quiet, which I'm a more quiet person, but I was very, very quiet for like my tipsy self. And Gloria literally asked me, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm fine."
She literally just like was in survival mode. She's like, "I'm totally fine." And I was like, "Okay, weird vibes, bro."
Yeah, because I didn't want him to hear me.
Yeah,
And so I was
no,
like,
fair.
I'm totally fine. She was like, "Okay." And then on literally the next stop, he stood up, and I was like, okay, so this is our chance to like book it, because he's either getting up to leave or getting up to do something. Like, I thought he had a bomb, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
And he started exiting the train, and so like I sat back down, and I don't remember exactly what she said, but it was something along the lines of like, "Wow, that was crazy, right?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's wild. Like, I can't believe that just happened. Did you just like make eye contact with him too?" And she was like, "What are you talking about?" And so then I, recanted the whole story to her, but it was just so strange.
What were you talking about?
I have no idea. Okay, guys, I was without my child for the first time.
Yeah.
I was drunk in New York City. I was dressed all cute, which I never get to be dressed all
feeling
cute.
Yeah,
yourself.
that was another thing. We were both like dressed and like
Yeah,
cuter,
so I'm
revealing
vibing.
outfits.
It makes me so sad that all of us were talking about what we were wearing when we felt uncomfortable.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. That's
But
true.
also, I'm in New York City, and I said something weird happened. I mean, probably a million weird things all happen simultaneously.
That's
There's so
so
many
true.
people, so there's no telling what I was talking.
But he got off the subway.
Yeah, he got off of the subway, and
What was he going to do? I wish I...
or coming from doing.
it haunts me to this day. Like, I think about it all
That's
the
so,
time.
so strange. Wow.
But yes, I did clock it. Yes, I was nervous, and it was a man mysteriously staring at me on the subway. The interesting thing about this is I think anyone would have been scared in that moment, but except for
If I would have seen him.
Yeah.
But
He
I
would've
think
clocked
the
it.
difference is I don't know if another, obviously I'm sounding hypocritical because I in that moment was not self-aware because I was being an idiot, but most men would not go that step to be that like locked into their surroundings to where they would even spot the weird guy in a full black
Exactly.
ensemble.
Mhm. Yeah.
Whereas like you already entering the enclosed space, you're already kind of scanning what situation am I walking into. I was inebriated, I think a bit more than you
yes. Oh, yeah, way more. That way. I'm so sorry.
And noticeably
Like,
more.
way noticeably. Yeah.
And so I think that you kind of were checking the surroundings in a way that I don't think most men feel the need to do.
Ever, yeah. What about you, G? Like, is there a story that comes up when you think about times that you felt super uneasy, unsafe?
Yes, I do have some stories. Okay, so I wanted to start off by saying growing up as the oldest sibling, it was really ingrained in me to know my full name, my address, ways to contact the adult from really young, because it was like constantly told to me like you're responsible for keeping everyone safe. I was walking everybody to and from school, et cetera, et cetera. But I feel like at least our mom kind of made it seem like the big bad was more so like any boyfriend I had at the time, due to the kind of like narrative of purity and saving ourselves and stuff, which one of the stories I'm going to share right now kind of confirms that. But I do think some of the big bads were way beyond what I think she instilled in me when I was younger. But one thing that happened for me that kind of opened my eyes to the danger of just men was when I was in high school, my first, call it serious boyfriend. I mean, just freshman year of high school, so how serious could it be? But like, I was, saving myself, all the yada yadas, and he had asked me if we could start using hands. Okay. To my little naive, pure brain. Okay, first of all, let me preface this by saying, I did not know that there was anything that could happen before sex.
Yeah, none of us know until...
Yeah, I just thought there was sex and there wasn't sex. Like, that's it.
Yeah.
And so he asked to use hands, and I'm thinking, run hands in my hair while we're making out. Sounds fun. Sounds hot. Yeah. So I technically consented, right? Mm-hmm. And so we go for a walk. We're making out in a tree, and all of a sudden his hands are in my pants.
Sorry.
It was a really cool tree. I will say, like, this wasn't just like... it wasn't just like a random tree. It was like this...
I'm not laughing at your experience where you were probably scared, but I'm just laughing at the fact that you were making out in a tree.
It's
because it's like the classic, the KISSING, like in
a tree.
Like,
yeah. It was actually a really cool tree. It was like one that kind of like almost like protruded out, almost like it should have still been the roots, but then all the different tree trunks came out, so there was
plenty of room,
big enough area in the center that almost felt like a tree house. Like multiple people could stand in there.
Yeah,
it was a cool tree. I don't want to undersell the tree. He wasn't a bad first boyfriend, but however, he did allow me. I don't know if he knew that I didn't know.
Yeah, that's the hard thing to decide.
But he stuck his hand in my pants, and I'm like, "What?" He said, "You said we could use hands," and I felt like in that moment, like, "Oh well, there it goes. It's gone." Mm-hmm. And that's when I realized, like, okay, men just cannot be trusted. Boys cannot be trusted.
That was tricky because you did
technically say yes.
Did you tell him, like, once it was happening that you wanted it to stop?
No, because I felt like it was too late.
Yeah. I think that's the big thing
really hard
to clock is, like, being scared in the moment to say no. I think we've had this big conversation before about blue balls.
Yes.
And how I'm convinced it's just a giant lie. To say that if we don't have sex with men, their balls are going to explode. But I think that speaks upon, like, just the fear of, like, saying no once you get to a place where you're uncomfortable.
And but the thing is, I do think that he knew who I was. Yeah. I was so vocally...
That's giving way too much credit to a 14-year-old, 13-year-old
Yes, but
boy.
it was, like, to the point where a lot of the boys were, like, seeking after it because I was, like, audibly, like, I'm not having sex.
Yeah.
Which was also part of the draw, which I now know as a teenage girl, I didn't know that would be a draw. Yeah. But that was something that I was super proud of and vocal about. And there's more context that I know behind closed doors where they were all talking about, like, getting me to change that. Yeah. That adds to that. Mm-hmm. But I do think that he was a little bit misleading by... intentionally leaving out some of the details.
Yeah. I hear you. And it's about how you felt in that situation. You felt scared and unsafe and unable to speak up for yourself.
And I can't say that, a freaking 15, 16-year-old boy should have known exactly how to communicate that to me. So I don't put all the blame on him, but I do think that there was a little bit of intention to kind of put some fog around it. Mm-hmm. And whether it was intentional or not, it allowed me to realize that men have kind of like one thing on their mind.
Yeah. And it's... Yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I also, like, experiences like this when I hear them. Local virgin. It really, like, makes me advocate more for just education for both men, or young women and young men. Because... even if his parents didn't educate him about boundaries and what sex looks like and what it could lead, like the steps prior to it, it's an uncomfortable conversation to have with your child, but it could make them safer in the long run. And having those uncomfortable conversations, I think, are so important, but they often don't happen because it's scandalous and taboo, and you don't want your child, a lot of parents, to have sex because of the fear of pregnancy. But if you talk to them like adults.
That's hard
It's
to do.
hard.
I was about to say it's hard to have these conversations as adults. So
To
it's
talk
a
to
lot
children
to
about it.
expect children to be able to have these
And
No, I'm
I do-
talking about just like
conversations.
parents talking to their children.
Yeah.
Children about this.
And I
Yeah.
think, too, there is kind of, it's not right, but I do think there is kind of a bias towards, like, if you have a daughter, you're more, like, likely to be like, don't have sex or don't do this, because if they get pregnant, that 100% falls on
Absolutely.
you.
Yeah.
Whereas if you have a son,
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe
They're
not.
They're not carrying the child.
like,
so.
they're not carrying the child, they're not necessarily responsible for the child after it's born. It's just kind of the reality. It sucks. I'm not saying that all boys or men who have kids aren't, showing up for their kids or whatever, but it's just not the same level of responsibility. So I don't think there's as thorough of a job done with communicating the risks and ramifications of being sexually active as you're young.
For young boys versus young women.
Yeah.
Do you guys, can you guys recall when you kind of first realized that, you had to think about your safety, particularly in regards to being a woman? Is there, an early memory that either of you can remember where you're like, oh, man, I'm a woman, so I need to think about these types of things?
I have one. Do you want to start, or do you want me to?
Sure, yeah, I can start. I think when I was 20, I traveled alone by myself for the very first time, and I went to New York. I love New York. I love Broadway. And I remember in my brain, I was like, I'm going to go to New York, and I'm going to go see all these shows, and I'm going to, dress cute when I'm there. And I was so excited, and that's all I saw. And as soon as I told my family, and I think particularly US, that I was going, you guys were so scared.
Yeah.
You were like, don't book shows at night. I was like, oh, but there's one show that only goes at night. And, I didn't think about the fact that I would be on the subway by myself at 20 years old, just traveling.
And a woman.
Yeah, a woman traveling.
Woman at any age, it's scary.
Yeah, but traveling in a city that I have never traveled by myself,
Yeah.
It is scary because you are often the only other person on a subway with someone late at night.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really think about it until you guys brought it up. And when I was there, though, I felt fine. But it was, honestly leading up to it with your guys'
The anxiety that we put onto you.
But it was a very real fear.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, I had a good trip and nothing happened, but there were moments where I was on the train. I was like, oh, these were the reasons why my family was afraid for me to be here. But I also do think that was a very good trip for me because it was the first thing I did completely on my own. One of my favorite trips.
And I think kind of like what we spoke to last episode, some of the things that maybe you've been shielded from as being the youngest child.
Oh, for sure.
You haven't had to feel scared because you've always had an older sibling or a parent there to be the one on the lookout for you. I think that trip was probably good for you because it made you realize for the first time that you unfortunately do have to have a level of awareness as a young woman.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely was walking around making sure I didn't look like I didn't know where I was going. I had one earbud in and it had the directions to where I was going rather
Yeah, you
than...
told me
Smart.
that hack
That's
when
really
we went
smart.
this last time. Yeah.
I never would have
that was
thought
really
about
clever.
that.
Yeah, so I would never look at my phone and I would just know where I was going.
You're so smart.
Yeah.
Wow.
No,
Look
she's
at
super
you.
capable.
Yeah. But yeah, I didn't want to look confused because I
Yeah.
feel like that makes someone an easy target.
So 20 years old, that's pretty, late in life to be like, that's the first time I thought about safety as a woman. Do you feel like yours was younger, G?
Yeah, so I had kind of an odd job when I was 16, maybe 17. I had just gotten my driver's license, and we had a family friend who had a banquet hall / hotel out in the city. I'm not going to specify, but we grew up in the subway, and this was out in the city. So it
In the
was,
suburbs.
what did I say?
said
Did I
in
say
the subway.
I thought my brain
We
was
lived in the
broken.
subway.
I was like, I heard that wrong.
Sorry, we lived in the suburbs and grew up in the suburbs, and this job was out in the city. And so it was a pretty big drive, and I would go out Saturday, sometimes Friday nights, Saturdays, and Sundays. It was a great gig, got paid under the table, made a bunch of money as a teenager. However, it was definitely, I think, a bit too big of a job for my age.
Mm-hmm. You're probably with a lot of people who were older than you that were working in the service industry. I feel
Definitely older, different language being spoken. It was largely Polish. Nobody spoke a lot of English.
Okay.
Kitchen was more Spanish, but pretty much all service was Polish. All kitchen was English, or in Spanish, and I was lost. But it was still a really cool job. There were some people my age, but they were city kids. Like, they grew up in the city.
Yeah.
It's a different breed.
Different, yeah.
But I just remember there was this one priest, because we would put on these events. A lot of times it was weddings, baptisms. There's like a name for it when, maybe it's christenings, where they would have a big event for babies, basically. And there was always the same priest, because it was like the same culture. And he was obsessed with me. Didn't speak any English. No, ick is right. He didn't speak any English. So what he would do is he would tell people all over each event, weeks and weeks on end, to go tell me how much he adored and loved me.
That's so.
So I'd be like passing hors d'oeuvres, and they'd be like, oh, the priest, yada yada, told me he thinks you're beautiful, da da da. And I would be so terrified week after week. I would always leave every time, because I would have to go late at night back to my car. I would have my keys between my knuckles. I'd have a hot cup of coffee in my hand.
Mom taught us that one, yeah.
Yeah. And I just remember that was the first time I was like truly, truly scared for my safety, just being so far from home as a kid.
Yeah.
And just, I don't know, it was...
The first time I feel like it's like the first time you felt you were alone and having to face that fear, probably.
Yeah. And honestly, so that priest was horrible. This does kind of I want to bring into a secondary story, because it happened at the same place, but there were people more my age, and I remember that we had this big New Year's Eve event coming up. And every time I would work, people, like, the kids would be drinking and stuff, and they'd ask me to drink, but I was always like, no, I have to drive all the way back to the burbs, like, it's not happening. So New Year's Eve was coming up, and my mom was like, listen, I don't want you to drive into the city because of drunk drivers. I'm going to drive you to work and pick you up at the end of work. And as the teenager I was like, perfect, I get to drink with my friends at work. And I remember the family friend who would, like, put us in our stations. We had, like, one big banquet hall and one smaller hall. And the bigger hall was more classy. And then the smaller hall was more, like, dance floor, just scaled down a bit. And all my friends were working at the smaller hall. And he put me on the bigger hall, which, in hindsight, I should have just listened to him.
You probably got more tips.
No, I don't think more tips. But I just wanted to serve with my friends, like, people my age. And I begged him, and he finally caved and was like, whatever. I mean, this man literally watched me grow up.
Yeah.
And so I'm serving with them. We're taking shots. Reminder, these guys are Polish, okay? They drink like...
They can drink.
They can drink, okay? And they were playing this game where it was like a shot every 30 minutes, hour, or something like that of vodka. And we were drinking. And they don't, like, the bartenders are our friends, too. They don't care. They're just serving us alcohol. And so I'm drinking, and there was one guy there that I had kind of been crushing on. We'd always flirt. Midnight comes around. We kiss at midnight. It's really cute. Whatever. So later on, he grabs me, and he's like, hey, I want to show you where they keep all, like, the good liquor at. And he drags me up this, like, flight of stairs that I didn't even know was there, off the kitchen. And I go up there, and he just whips his spit out. Fully out. Yeah. In the stairwell. So we're like up like the first flight of stairs, and he just whips it out. And I just remember being horrified because I'm on my period. So this isn't even on my mind as a possibility. Not that needs preface.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't even need to be said. The fact that he whipped it out.
Yeah.
He tried to push me up against the wall, ripped my tights, because there's a specific uniform I had to wear, like a black skirt, black tights, whatever. And I was so scared because I'm in this stairwell, because I'm like, I don't want to fall down the stairs and crack my skull open, but I start running away from him, and I'm running down the stairs. He's trying to pull me. I'm just running, trying not to slip and fall. And then the even scarier thing happens because I finally fight my way to the bottom of the stairs. I go to open the door.
Is it locked?
4 other dudes that we worked with are holding the fucking door shut.
What?
I'm not shitting you. So I'm pulling, they're pulling it on the other end. Because these are all guys that grew up together. They're all friends.
Yeah.
Like, I thought we were all friends. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm just thinking, like, I don't know what the fuck to do. I'm screaming at the top of my lungs.
Yeah.
The one girl I work with, that was like my work friend. We weren't even that close, but she was my work friend.
Yeah.
Just happened to walk by. She's like, what the hell are you guys doing? They let go. The door opens. I run out. And it felt like everyone was there. The family friend. Everyone's just staring at me. I'm disheveled. I'm like crying, hysterical. Mm-hmm. And I run away. And mind you, everybody's related. Everybody knows each other since they were kids. Mm-hmm. And I just like suffer through the rest of the night. Mom picks me up. I go home. And my family friend never calls me for a job ever again. Every week, Mom would ask me, like, what's going on? Why have you not gotten called into work? Like, I don't understand. It wasn't until I went off to college when she finally asked me, like, what happened there? And I told her that she realized, I was like, I'm pretty sure he made it seem like it was my fault, or that, like, I was, like, the drama queen, or that I was just sleeping with anybody.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And, like, dude's still on my Facebook. One time I clicked and, like, there's a message that I sent, like, oh my God, about last night or something, trying to, like, just, like, figure out what the hell happened. Because I was also really drunk. And he said, God, we kissed. It's not a big deal. Or something like that. And that's, like, all he said. And it, like, completely gaslit the crap out of me because I was like, okay, maybe I'm crazy.
Something didn't happen. Yeah. Yeah.
But, like, when I think about the fact that they were literally holding the door shut, like, that is so premeditated. Like, they knew.
Oh,
like,
that makes me
horrifying.
So sick.
It sounds like something they have done in the past.
Before.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and then it sounds like you were the one that was punished for it by not
I basically got fired, I guess.
Unfortunately, I think a common occurrence.
Yeah. And, I just don't even know if my friend even knows what she saved me from.
Yeah.
To this day. She was just like, what are you guys doing? She was the only one not drinking that night, you know? Yeah. She totally saved my ass.
Well, my gosh, I first of all didn't ever know that you went. I think I've heard that story, but not in complete detail, and that's absolutely terrifying. Traumatizing.
But so at a young age, I learned to be afraid.
So that was like in your teenage years, early teen years.
I was like 16, maybe 17 by then, because it was New Year's, so I was about to turn 17, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking about the question, and I kind of even referenced back to an even younger age of like realizing that you need to be a little bit more aware as a woman when it comes to safety. And I don't think I really realized it during the time, but I think looking back now as an adult, some of the defining moments that I've realized is, well, first of all, we were raised by a single mom, so I feel like she was always kind of like doing things to make sure that we were safe as a house full of women. One thing that I remember really early on, our mom being a runner, and she was training for a marathon, and she was a single mom, and so she got up really early to run when it was still dark outside. Mm-hmm. And I remember her saying that she would alter her routes so that she would
never let me walk the same way.
She was not doing the same route every day just in case someone was kind of watching her and tracking her. And like, she's told that to us at a pretty young age, that I feel like that was probably when I, like, even on a subconscious level, first realized like, oh wait, we need to be aware of these things. And there's like another time during childhood, which the memory is a little hazy, and probably G will be able to fill in the details a little bit more than UK, but I remember one time we were at home, and I believe it was like a drunk man who came up to our front door and was like knocking and yelling, and then eventually I think came to our backyard, to our sliding glass door, and was just being belligerent to the point that Mom called the cops, and they came.
I wasn't living at home.
Okay. You were there when we got the dog doorbell.
I knew about Okay, that happened before the dog doorbell?
Yes, that's why Mom got the dog doorbell. So there was this drunk man who was acting crazy. Our mom called the police, and they came, and they were like, we'll patrol your neighborhood for the night.
So that was before Boog.
I
That
believe
was
so.
when we were
Yes,
in
yes.
high school. Okay,
Which
okay.
is Boog is
My
Gina's
dog, my first dog.
And a dog doorbell is when you ring the doorbell and
And it
it
barks.
makes a sound.
Yes,
of a
yeah,
dog.
I was going to bring up the
I
dog
was gonna
doorbell
get to
too.
that because after that, so the cops were like, okay,
I don't remember that.
Yeah, they were gonna patrol the neighborhood for the night, whatever. And after that is when our mom got this doorbell that every time it was rung, it would sound like dogs were barking as a way to fend off predators or whatever,
Yeah,
criminals.
just warn people that were
Because
armed
a
with a dog.
dog would protect us. And
Yeah.
thinking back, it's like, okay, anyone who's going to come in to attack us is not going to freaking ring the doorbell to hear the dogs barking.
That's such a
But
good
like,
point.
I feel like that was like another thing that like, it's like, okay, we're a house full of women. How are we going to protect
How
ourselves?
did I never think of that?
One, we're not going to get a dog. We're just going to get a doorbell that barks
Sounds
if
like
someone
a dog.
decides to ring it before coming in to attack us.
I didn't, for the longest time, because I was so young when that happened, did not know that was the reason why we got the dog
either.
doorbell. It was just seemed like a quirky thing our mom would do.
Me
if
too.
I'm being completely
How did I
honest.
miss that? I'm sure.
We're
I'm
going to
sure,
have to fact check this with our mom.
Yeah, but I'm sure
Just
you're
pretty
right.
sure.
I
That
vaguely,
has
like,
to be the reason.
You bringing it up reminds me, but I think there was another incident that happened after I left for college that I think I might be blending those two memories. But before I forget, I do have a much younger incident that I do want
Yeah.
to plug real quick. So we had a public swimming pool.
I was going to ask about this story.
I forgot about this.
Yes, yeah, this is what I thought you were going to bring up, to be honest.
So we had a public swimming pool. It was pretty big. It was cool. It had it wasn't quite a water park, but it had elements of a water park.
There was a water slide and
Yeah.
little waterfall things.
Yes. And so I was maybe in fourth grade, I would say. And there was this bucket that kind of poured a continuous stream of water that kind of, you could stick your hand in or, let it fall on you. I don't know. It was
like a waterfall.
stimulating.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like a waterfall. And I was little, and I remember clocking this man with a professional looking camera. So in my head, I was like, okay, that's a photographer. And I saw him kind of taking pictures of me. Now, mind you, I was a pretty reckless kid. I was always
Talking to strangers.
talking to strangers. I feel like I wasn't just men. It was men,
Scary.
women, everyone. I just was like, yeah, sure. Adults are fair game, which is scary now as a mom.
Yeah.
Okay. But as a kid, I was like, this is normal. And so I noticed this photographer taking pictures of me, and I'm kind of hamming it up, I'm like, ooh, obviously, whatever. I'm in a bathing suit, though. I'm a little kid, okay? And so anyways, I'm leaving the pool, and he comes up to me, no adult in sight, and is just like, hey, I work for the newspaper. I got these great pictures of you. Those were so cool with the waterfall. I'm going to put them in the newspaper. And I'm like, awesome. I'm famous.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah.
It's about time. And so I walk over to my mom, and I'm like, hey, Mom, I'm going to be in the newspaper. She's like, what? Explain what you're saying to
yourself.
me right now. It's like this man was taking pictures of me, and I'm going to be in the newspaper. So a man was taking pictures of you here at the swimming pool? Where is this man? And she goes, she cusses him out. I'll never forget how mad she was. It was insane, but for whatever reason, I still ended up in the newspaper.
Yeah, I remember you had the clipping on the wall.
Yes, because I was famous.
Yeah.
Please don't embarrass me. What the hell? What the hell? Anyways, but I was really scared. I
But
was
Mom's
convinced.
reaction probably scared
She-
you. You're
it
like, oh,
scared
wait,
me.
is this unsafe?
I was convinced that he was going to crawl through my window. I had
Yeah.
that window right up against the driveway.
Yeah.
I was so convinced that he was going to come get me. I was so scared. But now being a parent, I understand
Yeah.
her
Mom's
freaking
fear.
reaction.
Yeah.
How the heck did I end up in the newspaper without my mom's consent?
Seems very illegal.
I was a freaking
Very
minor, bro.
Different time. I
yeah, that
feel.
seems very illegal.
You're taking pictures of little girls in their swimsuits at
Yeah.
the public swimming pool, and you're going to just put it in the newspaper without a parent's
That's-
signature?
That can't be legal. Yeah.
Insane.
So it sounds like Mom's response
Was
is what
why I
showed you
realized it was
fear. And I
scary.
feel like
Yeah.
growing up, even that hot coffee thing you mentioned is
That was
something our mom
100%
always
mom.
told us, carry a cup of hot coffee just in case you get attacked. You can throw it in their face. So, she taught us these little things here and there to kind of always think about in the back of our mind to keep us safe. So, today, how much do you guys feel like your day-to-day is consumed by thinking about what to do to keep yourself safe?
Sorry, before I answer that question, I actually thought of another story.
Okay, good.
And it's interesting because I think at a younger age, when I felt in danger like that, it was more so I was like, it's because I'm a kid. Not because I'm a girl.
Are you talking about
Yes.
the basket?
Yes.
The bike basket? Yes. I thought about both of these stories for both of you guys. Okay.
So I feel like it's been established here on this podcast that I struggled in school when I was younger. So because of this, every summer I did summer school. And the one perk, air quotes, of summer school was I got to like ride the bus by myself. And we lived on top of a hill. And the bus would stop at the bottom of the hill, and I would walk down to the bus by myself, and sometimes I would walk up, but, you know, my sisters would be at the top of the hill.
Yeah, it was like our
watching.
responsibility to get Kay from the bus stop, because it was a half day, so
Yeah.
Mom was still at work.
Exactly.
But we were kind of lazy, and we were like, we'll just stand at the top of the hill and let Kay walk up towards us.
Which I understand. Like, I would have done the same thing.
It was a big hill. We're underplaying the hill.
Yeah, it was a really big hill. It was honestly a mountain. And one time I was getting off of the bus and there was a man on his bike and he had this little basket with a little cute puppy in it.
Literally straight out of a friggin' movie.
So cliche.
And I swear to God, I got out of the bus and I think I yelled, "Puppy!" and like ran towards this man. And I was like, "Can I pet your puppy?" And then Mom yelled at me because this was the one rare time where she actually drove down in her car and saw that interaction. And she was like, she said my full name, I'm going to say it. She was like, "Kay, get over here right now." And I was so confused. I was like, "But Mom, he has a puppy." She was like, "Get in the van." And she had a gold SUV van, which is hilarious.
Iconic.
Yes. And I ran over to the van and she was so mad.
Not at you,
Not
but just
at-
at the situation.
The situation.
So it's very clear that he was
I think
likely
she
a
might have
predator.
been. I think she was mad a little bit at herself.
yeah.
That she didn't equip you.
To handle that.
Yeah.
Because I think both of us would have known. Man in a bike with a puppy, you run the other way.
Yeah.
But I was the youngest and never had to worry about that.
I just think she kind of didn't put as much emphasis. She thought maybe trickle down.
Yeah.
She probably said, if I'm being completely honest, she probably said a lot of stuff to the three of us.
Yeah.
And you were just like, not listening.
Yeah, I was in my own imagination a lot of the time.
I remember Mom saying, so after that, she kind of looked up like the sexual predator
Yes.
list for our neighborhood, and she said so much popped up that she was like, I have to shut this down because it's making me sick.
Yeah.
We were scared to trick or treat that next year.
Yeah, and so, but the reason why I don't think I thought of that example right away, it was because I was like, oh, I'm in danger because I'm a kid.
Child.
Yeah.
Not because I'm a woman
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
a girl.
And I think in that case, it might have been more so because you were a kid, because there are a lot of young boys that are
Yeah.
also preyed upon
Yeah.
Yeah.
as well. Yeah.
But it does start at that young age, though, for a lot of us.
Yeah.
It's crazy that we can look back at that story and laugh.
Chuckle
know.
a little bit. You kind of have to.
Yeah.
But ways that I protect myself now. If I notice somebody follows behind me, like more than 2 turns, I'll start driving aimlessly. I won't go home.
I do that.
I actually did have an incident where somebody was following me home in high school. And I remember because Mom told me, like, you have to be home by curfew, whatever. And I was already on her shit list, you know, like, deep. Like, trust had been so broken. And I called her because I was like, Mom, I'm not going to be home on time because there's literally a person following me. I don't want to go home. You're not home yet. Nobody's home. I don't want to go home. She's like, you're lying to me because you're not going to make curfew. I'm like, I just drove by the house like 3 times, bro. I'm literally trying to lose this person. I went around the block and I pulled over, and that was the dumbest thing. But I remember pulling over. The person behind me pulled over, turned off their headlights.
No.
I
You've had some very
gassed
scary
it.
situations.
I freaking gassed it, and I just booked it. Oh my God, it was so scary. I've had some really scary shit happen. I'm not gonna lie.
I'm the same way. If I feel like someone's following me, I'll definitely keep driving to make sure that they're not following me. That's a big one. I feel like one for me is like I a lot of times have to leave the house in the morning and like while it's still dark outside, whether it's I'm going to work or going to the gym. And what I'll do is like I'll open the door and I literally scan the perimeter before I turn my back to lock the door. I want to make sure I can see everything first. When I go to my car, I always check the back seat.
Yep.
I carry the taser that you got me for Christmas.
That was the clutchest freaking gift.
Yeah, like there's a
Your
lot of
pink
things.
taser.
And I can say that my level of anxiety definitely fluctuates based on what I'm consuming. I like to consume a lot of true crime, and my anxiety gets a little bit higher when I'm consuming that more. I do remember at one point, I even like said to my boyfriend, I was like, I might wake you up, because our bedroom window looks over our driveway. I was like, I might wake you up to watch me walk to my car, because I was like feeling so anxious. So just like a lot of those things. And I feel like I have a hard time discerning between anxiety and being overly paranoid, and also distinguishing between anxiety and just also that womanly intuition.
Yes. Yeah.
Which my current job has really started making me question, which right now I'm a physician assistant and I work in a jail. And so I see patients there, and it's public record what your charges are when you're brought into jail. So technically you can look up any person's charges. I generally don't. I never ever do before I see a patient. I obviously don't want there to be any sort of bias. And I usually don't after, but sometimes curiosity will get the best of me, because I will interact with a patient and genuinely enjoy the experience and be like, wow, they were funny. That was a great conversation. And then
What
I think,
did they do?
why are they in jail? So I'll look them up, and I've had times where like I've had, really good conversations, and I look up their charges and bam, aggravated sexual assault. And I'm just like, oh.
Can I trust myself at all?
I thought I had spidey senses. I thought that's what my anxiety has been my whole life, like is my intuition, but clearly I don't have it if I didn't know this man in front of me was literally arrested for aggravated sexual assault. So like then it starts to make me question, like, do I really even have an intuition? Like, can I trust any of these feelings that I'm having? It's just hard. Yeah, it's very, very interesting.
Another big one for me is I struggle. I've had to call our pest control company. I don't even know how many times, because I don't know. The vibes I've been getting from some of these, I don't know. I just need them to come only when my husband's home, because I'm so freaking paranoid. But I swear, I had one come in. My husband was at home. It's also important to note that my hubby really wants the inside done thoroughly. We live in a place that has like a lot of trees, a lot of bugs, and a lot of times pest control will treat the inside outside in the first couple visits, and then they'll only do the perimeter like from there on in. But he's very like, no, come inside. I need you to do inside. And so it was just me and my son home, and the man came in, and first thing he was like, I need to use the bathroom. And I was like, okay, which like, listen, I'm not saying it's wrong to use the bathroom, but I also feel like there's so many gas stations you can stop at and go to the bathroom. I don't know, it just feels a little bit intimate. But I was like, okay, sure. And as he was walking past me, the only way I can describe it is he like leered at me, like looked me in the eye and kind of smirked as he walked past me to kind of see if I was uncomfortable or not. And I was like, what the hell? And then the whole time he was doing the like the treatment, he just kept like walking by me and looking at me to check to see if I was still uncomfortable or not. And I felt
and you're like, is this anxiety or freaking intuition?
Yes, but I'm just like, this is like also my biggest fear is home invasions, and I just feel like that's kind of the way they scope you and find out about you and stuff. And I don't know, like, I don't know what's paranoia and what's just being a woman.
Yeah. And also like being a woman is another thing you have to think about is your response, which is something that I've also come across in the jail. There have been multiple times where, a man will make an inappropriate comment about my appearance, saying like, oh, you're so beautiful, you have beautiful eyes. The first time that happened to me, we all know there are 3 responses when you're in fear of your life: fight, flight, and fawn. And so when he said this to me, and this first time that I experienced this at my job, made a comment on my appearance, I kind of laughed and said, thank you. And after that interaction, I felt like sick. I felt ashamed of myself. I was like, why didn't I say something, stand up for myself, but I think that as women also we carry a lot of guilt about how we respond in these situations because I was so ashamed of the fact that I didn't say anything, which one thing I can say is this job has helped me to build that because now if someone says something about my appearance, I'm like, if you make one more comment about my appearance, I'm ending this interaction and you will not be getting the care that you need. Like I've almost had to create a script as to what to say too because I do immediately go into that fawn response, like, oh, let me appease you for making a compliment towards me so you don't
because
hurt
you
me.
might actually hurt me if I don't.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's also like, not only are we having to think about what we need to do to protect ourselves preemptively, but also in response to that type of like aggression, which is just like a whole nother thing.
And then it just sets us up perfectly to be blamed for the entire encounter because it's like, well, if you had a problem, why did you act like that? Yeah, exactly. So one of the questions that I really wanted to get into was the
wait, did Kay answer about like your like any sort of like changes you like things that you think about on a daily basis?
Honestly, I was going to touch on the same thing that you mentioned, S, is that sometimes I go to the gym early in the morning and I just like, I literally feel like I'm canvassing my street before I go out. I have like my key for my car ready, but like also in between my knuckles.
Always.
Yeah. And it's just,
I feel like it's something all women have thought to have to do.
Yeah. Check the back seat when I get in the car, even though my car was locked.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Like it's just, you always are checking things when I'm looking in the street while I'm walking to my car. I'm like, this canvassing is like slowing me down. Should I be doing this or should I be like walking quicker to my car? Like you just are always overthinking what you're doing for your safety and questioning if it's the right move.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen, there's like I think it's a keychain you can get, but it's like a brass knuckles, but when you go to punch, it turns into like claws.
Oh, no, I need that.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off earlier.
No,
what were you going to say?
You're okay. I wanted to make sure that we covered, you had asked if there was ever a situation where we saw another woman in distress and we felt like we needed to intervene.
Or the other way around.
Yeah, or the other way around, which of course,
for us.
my story, she did intervene for me. She saved my ass. I truly believe it. But I was curious if you guys had any stories like that.
Yeah, I always feel like, especially in college, I was always the one that even if we were out, this is about to contradict. I contradict myself a lot, but anyways, I always felt like I was the one that was being aware of my friends who were also under the influence to make sure they weren't left alone or
the mom
taken somewhere in a room alone. Like I did always feel like that was on my mind. There was one time when I was out with my friends. This was after college. I'm pretty sure that we were in the process of being sex trafficked.
Saying that.
We were at like a bar club type thing, and these young quote unquote women came up to us, but really like kind of older but trying to look young, came up to us and they were like, hey, like we're going to this other place and we have a VIP. We want you guys to come. It will be so fun. We have a car. Like we're with this guy, like, let's go. And my other friends were like, oh my gosh, yes, VIP, so fun, let's go. I look over and it's like this short, old dude, white hair, so creepy. And I was like, we are not getting in any sort of vehicle with that man. Like, and my friends like really wanted to go. I was like, no, we are.
To convince them to save their life.
Yeah, I was like, we are literally not going because I'm pretty sure we're in the process of getting sex trafficked. That was one big one that literally the day after, my friends were like, oh, thank you. Like, thank you, because we didn't realize what was going on. Yeah. But on the contrary, there was a situation where I was protected. It was actually by a couple, a man and a woman, when I was in college. It was my freshman year of college, and I went to New Orleans for like a fraternity event. It was basically a weekend in New Orleans.
Like a formal, right? Or something?
Yeah. And I was 18, 19 going to this, so obviously couldn't get into a lot of the places, especially if the identification I had wasn't accepted. So there was one point where everyone was going to a strip club. I actually got in, and then there was like a 2-drink minimum, and I went to order a drink, and I gave of course I got in because I'm pretty sure the bouncer was a male, and then the person who was getting the orders for the drinks was a female, and she grabbed my ID. She's like, what's your address? And I didn't freaking know it. So she kicked me out. But I was then kicked out and away from my entire group of people. I was alone on, Bourbon Street?
Yeah.
And I remember walking out, and I, like, walked down to a corner, and I was all of a sudden swarmed by a group of men just being really creepy. And this couple, like, kind of grabbed me. They're like, here, come with us. And I went to, like, a pizza shop with them. They're like, what are you doing out here by yourself? And I was like, I was with people, but they're in there, and I couldn't get in there, and now I'm by myself. And I'm, like, hysterical. Yeah. They're like, okay, well,
you called me also.
I'm pretty sure I called you, but you were in Germany. So they're like,
I did talk to you. I talked to them. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, you did. They're like, okay, call the friend that you're with. I'm calling. She's not answering. Finally, she answers, and she's like, oh yeah, we're here, like, at this pizza place. So this couple walks me over to where they're at, and literally goes up to the whole group of people I was with, and they're like, literally, shame on you for leaving your friend off to fend for herself alone, like, all of this stuff. But they literally, I'm pretty sure, saved my life. So that was, like, a situation in which I was, like, protected by someone else, which a man and a woman, which is pretty interesting. Cool. But what about you? Have you ever been in any sort of situation like that, Kay?
Yeah, I have two that come to mind. One was when I was in Spain. I was walking.
Another solo travel trip, which scared me.
Yes. I was by myself in Spain, and I was walking around, and I found, like, a cafe where you can, like, sit outside, and the waiter would come get your order. So I was sitting at a table by myself, and then this man, just, like, a very drunk man, came up and just started talking to me in a foreign language, because I was in Spain, and I didn't know what he was saying, and then he just started yelling at me, and I didn't know what to do, and I kind of, like, frantically was looking around to see if, like, anyone would intervene. No one seemed to notice. So I just, like, stood up and started to walk away, and then he started following me. And so I started...
Thank you for not telling us the story.
Yeah,
seriously.
Yeah, I was like, after it was happening, I was like, I could never tell them this happened. And I was running down, and I just didn't look back. I just started running, and then I ended up running into a, like, woman-owned business. It was, like, a bookshop with, like, tarot cards and crystals.
We love that.
Yeah, it was a very iconic moment. And just waited there for about 20 minutes and stepped outside, like, looked around to see if he was there, and then started walking around to make sure that he wasn't following me. And then I eventually, like, got dinner and went back to my hostel where I was staying. But I do just remember when I was running, I was like, how is nobody, like, nobody's
asking
doing
what's
anything.
wrong? Do you need help?
Yeah. And so I thought that was a little bizarre, but I was just like, I don't know, it's just foreign country, so different etiquette, different.
Wasn't there a really weird situation that you guys had?
Or not Ireland, in
London.
the UK.
London.
That's what I remembered while you were talking. In London.
Wow, it's okay. Before I tell this story, it's crazy how many stories you forget
that you have.
that
because
you
it's just
have.
normal.
Yeah, because it's just normalized.
Yeah.
So I was visiting G and her husband. We were in London at a pub, and G and I were sitting outside at a table. Her husband went in to get, like, another round of drinks, and then this man just started coming up and yelling at us, and honestly,
he started very conversational. Like, he pulled a beer out of his pocket.
Yeah, it sounded like a magic trick almost.
Yeah, he seemed almost like a street performer.
Yeah, so we were intrigued.
So yeah, we were like, okay.
Yeah, magic, of course. I'm always
magic
down.
Beer, I'll take it.
Yeah, I was like, I'm always down for magic. But then he started saying,
he said, I'm going to take you down the alley and I'm going to fuck you.
Yeah.
He said that to you.
Yes.
And your husband wasn't there at the time?
Not yet.
Okay.
And we were both in shock.
Yeah.
Because it was so abrupt. The like shift in the energy. It was literally like he pulled out a beer, popped it open, gave it to me. I was like, cool vibes,
and
sir.
then just casually
and then just was like looked at the frickin' minor and was like, I'm gonna take you down the alley and I'm gonna fuck you.
I was wondering, 'cause I was also thinking about this scenario earlier when I was like thinking about conversations that we will have today, and I was thinking about this story, and I was like, was your husband there?
No, he
Because that's an
wasn't.
interesting perspective to think about, someone doing that even when there's a man there, but of course the man was gone, and then
It was just two
Yeah,
women.
a different man saw
when
the
we
opportunity.
told him what happened, he absolutely lost his shit.
Yeah.
He like went into management, was like, "Y'all better take care of this right the f now."
Yeah.
That is a child. That man
That's-
just freaking talked to like that. Yeah, it was a whole
Terrifying.
thing.
Terrifying.
And
I know.
then-
Oh, sorry.
no, go ahead.
No, you go.
And then there was one other time. It was okay. So before, I'm fine, but it was.
Oh no!
I'm fine.
Oh God.
Okay, go. You're good.
Okay, yeah,
We're
you're
both
good.
I
buckled.
just have a feeling it's gonna upset you guys.
Yeah,
Okay.
it is.
Okay.
I'm already upset.
Okay, no, go.
Okay.
I'm fine, but I didn't know how to process. It's not as bad as you guys think it is.
Okay.
Okay.
So,
Okay, so after our sister passed away, we had a big celebration of her life. You know, and we all were at a house getting drunk together, and it was something that she wanted. She wanted us to celebrate her and have like lots of alcohol. Well, at one point of the night, I was alone in like the kitchen with her then stepfather and her boyfriend, and I was the only one in there.
it was who? I'm sorry.
Her
Our sister's
Stepdad and who else?
her boyfriend.
Okay.
And her boyfriend just started calling me beautiful over and over again. And I was like immediately uncomfortable and disgusted. And so then I like kind of went to move and like leave. But then the stepfather put his hand on like my lower back. And I was like immediately, I was like, this is not okay. Like I don't
felt uncomfortable.
feel safe. And I feel like that was the time where I felt the most unsafe. And, you know, I did get out of there. Nothing really like extreme happened, just like a level of discomfort and anger. Because
In a
like,
Well, it's
time
like
where
the
you were
situation, you were literally
grieving and
grieving.
vulnerable.
You were so
Exactly.
vulnerable. Everybody was so. I think that might have been the most fucked up I've ever been actually in my
it
life.
was the most drunk I had ever
Yeah.
been in my life. And so when I got out of that room, I sat down like by the bonfire and I was kind of like thinking in my head, I'm like, am I just very drunk? Did that really just happen? I was like, they're grieving too. Like, it was just a bunch of different things going on. And I was like, you know what? This is not what I'm supposed to be processing in this moment.
It's the weird, like, what is this kinship between men? Like, what you experienced with the two guys
Yeah.
at the freaking car thing. And then why the hell would the stepdad, like, almost act like he was aiding the boyfriend
Yeah.
to make you uncomfortable?
Is
That's
there
what
more that
doesn't-
happened?
No, it was just that. But I was just like, very.
You promised, because you told me that night that he was calling you beautiful and stuff, but I did not know about that hands were in on you.
See, I don't even remember telling you that. That's how drunk I was.
Yeah.
So, like, it was just so frustrating because we were grieving the
Yeah.
biggest loss that I've ever felt and still have ever felt to this day. And it's just for, like, that to be their actions in that moment because they were also grieving. Mm-hmm. It was just disappointing in that regard.
Yeah.
Disappointing that I couldn't just grieve my sister.
Yeah.
And angry that her boyfriend would be saying those things right
Yeah.
after her funeral.
Yeah, that makes me sick.
Yeah.
I don't even really know what else to say to that besides the fact that that's
Incredibly fucked up.
Yeah. Yeah, and you spoke upon the fact that they were grieving as well, but to me that's literally no excuse. We're all grieving and we weren't there making anyone feel uncomfortable. Like,
Yeah.
that's not an excuse.
Yeah, no, not whatsoever. And yeah, I don't even know.
That's the thing, though, as women, like, you try to justify those actions, like you said, like, oh, they were drinking too,
Exactly.
they were grieving too.
Like, we're
But
trying to
that's not
empathize it, but it's like we
justification.
can't relate, so it's also hard. So it's like it comes out to be this weird justification.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And it's almost like, I think for me in that moment was just like trying to find a way to make it
Makes
better.
sense.
And make, like, yeah, just like make it make sense.
And not make it about that because you were still wanting to make it about your sister.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Well, I have one more story, but I don't really want to segue from that.
I know it's a hard transition to segue from. Is there anything else that you want to speak upon about that? Like, first of all, I'm sorry that And it sounds like you did talk to G about it, which I'm glad that you did.
I mean, I was really drunk that night too, so I don't think I was receiving it very well. But I forgot about it too. But once you had started talking about it, I do remember you saying that he was calling you beautiful. But a lot of his actions were really weird around that time. Yeah. He was like trying to reach out to us, like to kind of garner our sympathies, to almost like side with him, because I think that there was some drama or whatever. And so I felt like at that time it was just like, yeah, he's a really weird dude.
Or he's like really struggling with it.
Or really struggling. But that's still
literally no
excuse. It was like, I don't think I was, and I'm sorry that in that moment I wasn't the one to step in and help you. I don't think I was.
I don't even remember telling you.
Fair.
I literally thought I didn't tell anyone. So yeah. Like, I don't blame you, because I don't even remember telling you. That's how drunk I was.
I mean, how drunk we needed to be.
Yes, absolutely. But my, like, reason why I'm bringing that up, I think, because you touched on this earlier, it is something that women tend to do, is, like, minimalize it or try to explain it away. Or, like, I feel like at the start of a lot of our stories, we're saying, like, okay, so we were wearing this, or we were really drunk, or I was really young. And we tried to make it, like, excuses for these men for these unacceptable actions and lack of boundaries and respect.
Yeah. Absolutely. You said, G, you had a situation?
Yeah, so I just wanted to touch on one where I feel like I stepped in and I was proud of that, but I got almost shamed for it by, take a guess, a man. But, you know, my husband was in the military, so we were at a military event, right? It was probably like 80% men in attendance, and open bar until like 3 a.m. So dangerous. Everyone is sloshed. Also, it was like a resort where we could stay the night, so everybody had a hotel, and so everyone got wasted.
Yeah.
So I'm wandering around. I think I lost my husband. I think I was trying to find him. And I see like 5 or 6 adult men with a grown woman propped up on their shoulders, ass first, like full panties out, like in her dress. And I'm just like, I'm walking, I'm pretty toasted myself, and I start to walk past them, and I just stop, and I'm guys, I'm really sorry, but I quite literally can't allow you to walk past me without some sort of further explanation of what is going on here. Like, explain yourselves. And the guy at the front, there's 2 guys at the front. One is a shorter guy with like a scarf on, and he immediately is like, I'm gay. Everything's fine. I'm gay.
Oh my gosh.
There's nothing to fear. And I'm just like, okay.
What about all the rest of these?
Me. But then the other guy's like sets her down, like rolls his eyes. It's like, I'm her boyfriend, okay? And I was like, okay. That doesn't mean anything to me. And the thing is like, as they set her down, we're at like the top. I didn't realize this. We're like at the top of a ravine, and it kind of dips from either end. It's quite deep. And she just kind of she was out.
Falls into a ditch.
She rolls into a ditch, and he looks at me. The boyfriend looks at me, and he's like, well, now look at what you did. And I'm just like,
I was just trying to be him.
What? Like, he literally starts yelling at me, cussing me out. He's like, this is your fault that she's still in the The, like, other 4 guys kind of scurry down. It's so bad. The other kind of guys kind of scurry down. He's like, she wanted to get wasted, and now I have to deal with this, and you stopped and questioned me. And I was like, what kind of woman would I be to not question this? And anyways,
did you ever get your answer? Like, was that her boyfriend, really?
I guess. So then anyway, so I'm like trying to help dig this girl out of a ravine. And I'm like covered in dirt. And she is just like a bag of bricks. Like, she literally will not like even help a little bit. We're really trying to roll her out. Anyways, I gave up like probably halfway through, but I see it seemed like that the gay guy was there at least. I don't know. I tried. But then I come to find out that your boyfriend actually had stumbled upon that scene and he saw us all struggling in the ditch.
Yeah, I've heard him tell the story.
He didn't know that, like, anything that was going on, but he's just like, oh my God, a bunch of idiots rolling around. I was literally like trying to climb up and I would fall down. Like, it was like a whole thing. Oh, it was hard to get out of that thing. I'm sure they're fine, probably.
Oof.
But hard. I did try.
And that's also another thing is just like the feeling the responsibility for other women. That's like another thing that's on our plate.
Yeah.
So, but like obviously all of these stories are absolutely terrifying and obviously rightfully so instills a lot of fear in us. But do you guys have things that like you're, you know, even though you're afraid of doing them, like you're just not willing to give up because, you know, you don't want to give it up just because you're scared? Like, is there anything that you're like, I'm going to do this even though I have a little bit of fear?
I mean, there's a lot of stuff. I mean, even going to the gym.
Yeah.
There were a couple of gym incidents I had that were kind of crazy where there was a guy who was kind of harassing me at the gym and I had to report it to the front desk because it was like anytime I was on the treadmill, he'd be like right there watching or like he was always lurking in the background. And then there was another time where I was working out and all of a sudden a young man walks into the gym and starts screaming at a dude about recording me. I didn't even know it was happening.
Yeah.
And he just like is like, that's not gonna happen here, da da da, which was awesome of him to step in.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, dude,
just day to day thing.
Yes, yeah, just,
I'm not gonna give up going. I'm not gonna give up going to the grocery store.
Yeah,
I've been followed through the grocery store, like in between aisles. You know, it's just like anything that we do. There's a potential of some man crossing boundaries and being inappropriate, but we still have to go out and exist in the world.
Live our lives.
I definitely try to still live my life, still do things, but I definitely think the list of things I don't do out of fear of something is longer than the list of things I do despite the fear.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. I think you mentioned one time, like, traveling, because you've traveled alone a lot.
Yes.
So that's one thing I've never done. And
you should.
You sound like you've encountered a couple of scary situations when you're traveling alone, but sounds like it also doesn't stop you from doing that.
No, I love traveling alone. It gives you, like, a whole new sense of independence. Like, you get to do what you want to do when you want to do it. And I hate the idea of a man stopping me from doing that, you know, especially like I think I've been to New York many times by myself. It's one of my favorite things to do. And I simply would never stop doing that
because of that fear.
That fear.
Yeah. And we've talked a lot about the mental load that we carry. Do you guys feel like the men in your lives like understand, or have you guys ever talked about that, and were they surprised by that? Or do they understand it? Do they empathize with it? Like, what does that look like for you guys?
I think my partner tries to understand, but I don't think he does. You know, I've seen him get so wasted to the point where, like, he doesn't even know where he is. And part of me is mad because I'm like, well, great, now I'm an even bigger target. You don't even understand that. Mm-hmm. And then part two is I'm jealous. Because I quite literally could never.
Yeah.
Could never let that loose in a public space. And so I do think he does try to understand it. Or like on paper he understands it.
Yeah. You can only understand so much if you're not experiencing it. But I feel the same with my boyfriend. Like he said to me so many times, like, I am so happy I'm not a woman. I would never want to be a woman. And I think, he definitely understands as much as you can when you're not experiencing it.
Sorry, I'm curious if we ever had a daughter, how they're both, honestly.
Oh, my boyfriend talks about how afraid he is to have a daughter, too. Because I think he is more aware than most men are about, you know, how women feel in the world and how scared they can be. And you know, he's mentioned, you know, several times, like, we both have anxieties about being parents in general, but being a parent, it's particularly a father maybe of a girl as well. He's expressed a lot of fear about that, which is interesting because I was like thinking about like the men in our lives and if they have that understanding or awareness of kind of like what we have to think about on a daily basis. And I was thinking about it from our dad's perspective, and like I was trying to think about whether or not I felt like he had that like feeling or awareness growing up, which to like my first instinctual thought is like no, otherwise he would have been around a lot more to provide that protection.
I think he was so afraid of fucking it up. Like, I think he was so scared of having girls. I think he didn't know how to navigate it at all, but he was aware.
I think he was aware, but he didn't really do a good job of making us feel like safe or protected.
100%.
Which also there's a lot of complexity to whether or not that should be like a man's responsibility, but I
think even if you just look at it as not a man's responsibility, but a father or a parent's responsibility.
Yeah. And a big thing that I was thinking of is he was very, I don't know if you guys ever felt this, but like wearing makeup, he would always comment, like whenever I went to go visit, like even in middle school and high school, like I would not wear makeup when we went to go visit dad, or like maybe like my shorter shorts and stuff, because he would say stuff like don't wear makeup.
Don't ask boys to show you their muscles.
Yeah.
And that was a big one for him.
He loved when I wore basketball shorts.
Yeah, very much like slicked back.
So almost like instilled this like, if you look a certain way, you're going to attract that type of attention. Mm-hmm. That I think was kind of built these subconscious thoughts and feelings. And then also like he was a very big, and I know you felt this with when he met your husband, was very like that, like I'm gonna be basically a dick to any woman or any man that my daughters date.
It still traumatized my husband to this day.
But it's like it wasn't from like I want to protect my daughter's perspective or like approach. I didn't feel it as that way, but more so like an ego thing.
Yeah.
Where I never really felt like he was really trying to protect us, more so show that he's the man.
Dominance.
Yeah,
100%.
so
I feel like his whole thing was dominance.
Yeah. But with all that being said, would you guys...
I'd be a man in a heartbeat.
choose to be a man if you could for that level of security and safety?
It's a challenging question for me to answer because I think it's hard to be a black man in America.
Yeah.
Like, I think that comes with its own different struggles.
Challenges.
And, prejudices.
Like, and I do love girlhood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say, I love girlhood. I love the spirit. There was a conversation we had where I was like, I wonder if men and women are supposed to cohabitate beyond just procreation, or if we're supposed to just like make babies and then like separate. And I was like, how amazing would it be to be on an island of all women? And you were like, I don't know if that would be a good thing, but I truly think if like the whole effect of man were removed from the equation, it would just kind of feel like we were drunk in the bathroom.
You would feel safe as a woman, but I do want to make sure that like time. I don't want to belittle like the man's contribution to society.
No, and I don't want to either, but I would really feel much safe. I feel like me saying I would feel safe on an island of all women most of the time is no different than me being like, oh, I would throw away being a woman altogether and just be a man because it would be easier. Yeah. That's just as detrimental to manhood as anything.
Yeah. Also, I think the closest experience I've ever had to like an all-woman island is a Taylor Swift concert. I've never felt so safe in a public
I just think there would be a safety there.
Yeah, there would be safety, but I think there would be a lot of things that we lose. I think I'm more in the boat of I like being a woman. I think part of it comes from like an unhealthy perspective of like overcoming. It's like, oh, I'm a woman, but I've reached this level of success despite all of the odds being against me. And I think it's like that feeling of accomplishment you get for overcoming the fact that you're in danger all the time. I think that's part of it, but I just don't think I'd be a good man. Like I've talked about this before with my boyfriend, and like there are times when I feel scared and I'm like, I look to him, I'm like, are you scared right now? And he's like, no. And then like my anxiety subsides. And then one time we had a conversation about it and I was like, I'm asking you this with the expectation that your answer is no, because if you say yes, I'm freaking spiraling, because if you're scared, like I'm scared. And I think that is a level of like something that maybe we as women like, there's a lot of things that men don't have to think about that women do. I think there's a lot of things that men, I don't know if I said that right.
think about that women don't.
Yes. And I think it's that feeling of always having to be the strong protector.
Definitely.
Which I don't think I'd be able to do. And I also don't think I would be able to deal with, like, kind of the level of rejection that a lot of men have to deal with. Because, like, normally, traditionally, men are the ones who are, like, approaching and asking women out on dates and things like that, and really setting themselves up for possible rejection. And I just know my ego couldn't handle it. So that's, like, another aspect of, like, why I wouldn't want to be a man. But also I think, like, I also do, like, appreciate as a woman, like, I think we are able to, as women, we are able to talk about how we're feeling and our emotions a little bit more freely, where I do think that, you know, men aren't able to do that, and I love being able to do that. So,
and I'm not pitching that we're separate all the time. I'm pitching that we're separate, aligned with our cycle, right? So you imagine a bunch of women on an island, we all sync up, really. Yeah. And so the ones who choose to procreate would go for, like, there would be like a week of blending of the islands, because there would be courtship and romancing and ovulation, etc. Right? There'd be a chunk of the month where we'd all cohabitate, but then there'd be like a solid 3 weeks.
But what
where we're all
about,
kind of on our own? I think the men would be relieved too.
I vote for just no genders.
That's a good idea. But, like, raising your son, like, don't you see the importance of having that male figure in his life? Yes, it might be more like raising him, not just in creating him.
What was that dating show where they had the buzzers, and then once they matched perfectly, the perfect match, then they had to go to a separate island together?
I don't know that show.
Your friend was on it. Your friend was on the show.
I know what you're talking about.
Anyways,
I don't know.
Once they match, they go to an island together. I think there would have to be a separate section when people actually start having kids, to where there would be more interactions.
I just don't want to minimize.
I still don't think it would have to be all the time.
I think it's we have this podcast called Daddy Issues because of what
a dad can do, like the damage a dog.
But I also think that they can do so much good too. I just don't want to, like, diminish a man's, like, role in society, but. You can do better.
You can definitely be with the mom. You never said the kids would only be with the mom.
Well, where would the kids be if you're on an island with all the women?
Shared.
You're gonna send your freaking kid on a boat across the ocean to get to the father.
Logistics. It's a hypothetical question, and also, I think if we're gonna start talking about controversial contemplation, you're gonna have to be a little more lighthearted and stop being so technical about these.
I'm just challenging your thoughts here, and I also, like.
Our society is not built for it. We don't have the infrastructure for that type of idea right now. But I think working out the kinks, maybe the infrastructure.
It's just my daddy issue speaking. I still do love men.
Me too. I have a great one. I do too. I just think maybe we could Caitlin's
over here. She's like, I'm a man hater.
You're like,
my boyfriend told me before. He's like, I think Kay needs to end up with a woman because she hates men.
He said that?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, sorry. You want to talk about that?
No, I think I just call out flaws when I see them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, and I joke with him a lot too.
Yeah,
and I think
he said it in a joking way too.
Yeah.
I do just think that we're, like, maybe at this point, you know, we always have to tip the scales a little too far before we find the balance.
Yeah,
but
that's why I said
think
no
there
gender.
is a danger in constantly saying that men are always bad. I think it can fuel.
I never said men are
I'm not saying that.
Okay,
but what you're saying is living in a world where no men exist.
That's not what I said. I said where we maybe time it so that way it doesn't have to always be coexisting.
Yeah. Like other animals in nature.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what I mean.
I agree. Yeah, I agree with you. I'm just trying to.
I see what you're saying. I just don't want to come off like a man hater because I'm not.
No. Yeah.
My stance for the third time is no gender.
Okay.
Neutral.
Well, I think that's enough about us for today. Yes. Let's get into some Reddit stories. Mm-hmm. I think, Kay, you have a story for us today.
Yes, I'm very excited. All right, guys, it is time for our favorite segment on this podcast, strangers being messier on the internet than us. That's right. It's our Reddit story time, and I had it and then it disappeared, so you're going to give me a second. All right, before I start this, I want to say this has nothing to do with our topic. It's very lighthearted, and I think it's hilarious. So, today I fucked up by overhearing my student talk about their explicit fan fiction.
Okay.
I, a 24-year-old female, am a high school teacher who supports/manages a club in creative writing. I want to add that I live/work in Germany. English is not my first language, so don't worry if my English skills are not what you expect from an English-speaking teacher. In my free time, I sometimes like to read fan fictions on AO3. What a pause. Do you guys know what that is?
AO3?
Yeah. So it's like a website where people can just anonymously post fan fiction that they write so that other people have access to it. All right. Today I overheard 2 female students talk about what kind of stories they like to write in their free time, and apparently one of my students writes fan fiction in a rather small fandom, which I also love. When she started to talk about one of her stories in more detail, I unfortunately recognized the story. It turns out this underage student is one of my favorite AO3 authors. Honestly, that is so, it's like 10 O's, weird to realize. I've read all of her stories for years. These stories happen to be at times rather explicit, and they're just so good. Some of them were my personal comfort stories that I've read again and again, and now I can't read these stories anymore without feeling absolutely gross. Also, since this realization, I feel weird looking at her, which sucks because she is one of the nicest and my favorite students, and she is so talented. TLDR, the smut I've been reading/loving for years is written by one of my underage students, and I feel weird about it.
How old are the students again?
She just said high school.
Okay.
And the teacher's 24.
And the teacher's a female.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm assuming they have to be like upper years in high school because she's been reading this
For years.
Yeah.
I mean, it's already hard to kind of meet, like, your, not heroes, I don't want to say, like, your schmut authors are your heroes, but you know what I mean? Like being face-to-face with people that you kind of idolize or finding out who they really are can be hard.
Yeah.
It being one of your students has got to be a weird and also kind of a humbling experience.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yes.
Would it be, like, morally wrong if this teacher continued to read this student's fan fiction that was like kind of sexually
Because that's
explicit?
like now it's knowingly a minor and
underage.
sex.
Yeah, is that wrong?
I think yes, but it's hard because there'd be no, I don't know.
It's such a weird gray line. You have to wait until after they graduate, and then you can go back to
Yeah,
read.
I think once they turn 18, you probably don't have that much longer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like if you know it's
It would be really hard for me to keep reading somebody I know, even if they weren't a minor, to be honest, even if it was just someone I know, it'd be hard for me to like go back to that.
Do you think it's wrong? Like, do you think it's predatory? Do you think it's weird if she were to keep reading it?
I don't know. It's so.
I
kind of do.
I
I don't know. I said that and then I didn't.
I don't really feel like it is.
I think it would be wrong if she engaged. So like you can comment on people's stories. So if she were to like comment, then
or try to elicit like one-on-one or anything like that. But the fact that that the minor is choosing to put it on a public forum, it makes it really hard for me to be like, yeah, and it's anonymous. Like she didn't know. I know that knowing now is harder. I don't know. I don't necessarily think it's actually wrong to just read it.
I don't think it's wrong. I think it's weird.
It's weird. I wouldn't want to.
Mm-hmm.
I would feel uncomfortable even if it was just somebody that I'm like a coworker or something who's of age. I would still feel weird because I'm just like, ugh, now I know like you're the person behind it. It would feel weird.
I definitely think it would feel weird. Ugh, I'm having a hard time forming an opinion on if I think it would be morally wrong. I'm trying to find a comparison that is a little bit more relatable,
unique,
but it's the inner no, because I mean
it's
I don't want to compare it to, it's definitely not the same as child pornography, but my brain, it keeps going there for some reason.
It's because it's an underage person writing a pornographic,
but it's fiction, and it's not about the underage person. It's the other element. It's about of age people.
Yeah, about this fandom.
Yeah.
I guess it's not morally wrong, but it feels wrong.
Yeah, it just feels icky to you and to me and to you as well.
I wouldn't do it. Maybe if they were so good after she graduated, I'll be like, okay, now I can go back.
for sure would not be able to be like, oh, I'm aroused knowing like my student wrote it.
Yeah.
That's true.
I think,
it wouldn't hit the
I think
same.
it's like a red flag if like she still wanted to read it for some reason. like, because we all are so put off by it, and like we wouldn't read it after we knew that. For some reason, I feel like it is a red flag if the teacher continued to read it.
Yeah,
but it's not technically morally wrong.
Yeah. She says she feels super weird about it. Yeah. She's just like, I fucked up. I should have just minded my own business.
That's super interesting.
Ignorant bliss.
That was an interesting
That was a
one
good pick.
Yeah, I figured we needed a lighter note.
A palate cleanser.
Yes.
Well, actually, so this will be our last episode of season 1 of Daddy Issues. We will be back for season 2, but there will be a little bit of a break in between. I think about a month.
Yep.
But make sure you check in with our socials to kind of see updates and things like that we're posting there. But we will be back. I know we've abandoned you guys plenty of times before, but we plan to be back for season 2. So make sure, you stay up to date on our socials so you can see when that's going to start. And once again, we are not professionals. We're not claiming to be. We're just 3 sisters with a decent camera, big feelings, and daddy issues. And thank you for coming along with us on season 1.
Yeah, and if you enjoyed listening to us, please be sure to follow us on TikTok and Instagram at the Daddy Issues Pod, and on YouTube at the Daddy Issues Podcast, and share with your emotionally repressed friend or dad.
We can't wait to be back for another season. We pinky promise.
Yes.
Bye.
Love ya.